Welcome.
Benvenuti, bienvenidos, hoş geldiniz.
مرحبا.
Willkommen.
I'm going to introduce myself first. My name is Stephen Madden. I'm head of business development for Cambridge University Press in Western Europe. So that encompasses Switzerland, Germany, and Austria, as well as teams that we have in France and the Benelux. I'm based in Zurich, and I work alongside my two colleagues, Tanya Picheri and Moitze Benza, who are ELT advisors, Fachberaters for Switzerland, Germany, and Austria. And there'll be people who you'll, alongside Brigitte Briggs, will be seeing hopefully over the coming months when we get back to a time when we'll be at events in person, and if not, certainly in this sort of environment in the meantime. So thanks for coming along this evening. As Brigitte said, Adobe Connect itself is having a lot of usage, and I see now that we have just 299 participants here as well. So if it's a little bit slower, some of the transitions are slower, please excuse that. Also, of course, like everyone else's internet at the moment, the internet in my house is there's extra demands being put on it right now. So if there's any slight delay, I'm sure you'll all understand. So at this point, I think I'll start the presentation, and Tanya and Moitze will be here. Moitze might not be able to join us for the whole thing, but Tanya, you'll be here to the end, and we'll be looking at your questions, and we'll answer them at the end of the presentation.
Yeah.
Right. So just to reiterate, this afternoon's session will be a relatively informal session with a lot of information in it. What I'm going to do is, over the course of the next 45 minutes or so, is take you through pretty much everything Cambridge has put together over the last 4 to 5 weeks to support every teacher in ELT. And I'm going to take you through this quite quickly, but rest assured we have put together a document that you can download at the end that has every link that I show to you today. So first thing I'd like to say is a huge thank you to all of you, not just for joining the webinar today, but for what's being done in the education system in Germany, in Austria, in Switzerland, or if you're based outside of there. It's quite remarkable what teachers have managed to do over the last few weeks. We would have thought it impossible a few months ago, but basically to take all the learning that was being done in the classroom and translate that in one way or another into a distance learning, and kind of keep the educational system moving and think about and consider the needs of all your students is quite a remarkable feat. And I just want to say thank you very, very much for all the work that you have done and that you will continue to do over the next while. The agenda for today: here are some of the points that I'll be taking you through. I'll be showing you Cambridge's Supporting Every Teacher blog and some of the excellent articles we have on that. I'll be showing you the exam boosters. So this is a really interesting option for you if you want to deliver content to students level appropriate that they can download and use themselves and correct themselves. It's very, very useful. It's useful, I think, for every teacher, but they're very, very useful for anyone who has students who are preparing for Cambridge qualifications. I'm going to show you how you can do some work with English Grammar and Youth, of course, probably Cambridge's best known book in this part of the world. I'm going to show you something called the how-to guides, which are guides specific for various Cambridge courses that will show you how to teach that Cambridge course remotely. And something very interesting. And even if you don't specifically teach with that book, I think you'll find it interesting to see how you might go about teaching a course remotely. I'm going to show you something called Presentation Plus, which is a software that you can get if you're using certain Cambridge books. And if you're using that, this will allow you to present the student's book on the screen and have some interactivity on it. I'll also tell you about the support that's offered, the very significant support that's offered by our partners in Cambridge Assessment, who are the people who run the Cambridge English exams. And I'll go straight to something called Write and Improve. And finally, we're going to hear from you in terms of the questions and answers that you can ask at the end. Normally, we would have a chat box and you would be asking questions as you're going along, but just considering the sheer volume of participants, we just wouldn't be able to follow it. So if you can make a note of your question and then put it into the questions and answer box that we'll have at the end, that'll be perfect. So first things first, the supporting every teacher blog. What I'm going to do, and I'll be doing this a few times during this presentation, is moving from my presentation back to showing you a live website. And there may be a little bit delays, but hopefully you'll be able to follow it. So what Cambridge has done is created a blog. We always had a blog called The World of Better Learning, but we've made a subsite of that blog called Supporting Every Teacher that puts up daily articles about how to go about teaching remotely and the challenges that teachers will have with that. And when we talk about teaching remotely, of course, it's not just teaching online through Zoom. It's also, for a lot of teachers, it's about delivering content to students that's appropriate for them to do, maybe with their parents, and getting that back for them and so on, and everything that goes around that. So what I'm going to do is show you what this website looks like. So just bear with me 1 second. I'm going to switch over to my screen. And you'll see the website itself, and I can show you just some of the articles. So I hope you can see that all now. This is the Supporting Every Teacher website. I'll put this into full screen. You should be able to see it a little bit better now. This is the Supporting Every Teacher website. And by the way, the links for all of this are going to be at the end in the document. And every day, basically, new articles are coming up on this that you'll find really, really interesting. Some are kind of theoretical ones for you that you might read and you'll think about. Other ones will give you very, very specific content that you could use in your remote teaching. So just here are some of the more recent articles. Here's one about 3 ways to use global news in your online English lessons. Action and interaction as essential ingredients for teaching primary children online. So that one in specific is interesting for primary teachers. Here's one about how to draw Monty Mouse, which is a character from one of our books. Here's one for teenagers. I know we have a lot of secondary school students joining us. Here's 4 activities to encourage social connectedness in teenage learners. And if you want, we could go into this one and you can see this. So this is written by Jay Blue. All the people writing for us are various experts in their fields. And in here you can read an interesting article about connectedness for teenagers. As I say, some of these are quite sort of interesting and theoretical. You'd read it, you go away and think about it. Others then are very kind of straightforward. Here's something you can use in your classroom. And one of those that you can use, of course, is the Exam Booster. And I'm going to show you this straight away. This is the Cambridge C1 Advanced Booster. Now, the boosters were extra additional material that we had produced in Cambridge to help you prepare for Cambridge exams. And what we've done in this coronavirus situation is make these freely available as PDFs for you to download and for your students to download, along with the audio. So this is something quite remarkable. We haven't done anything like this before, as you can imagine, just kind of give away content like this. But obviously, given the scenario that we're in, this is a very appropriate thing to do. So you can go on here, and again, the links will be displayed for you at the end. And you can find the Cambridge Exam Booster, in this case, the C1 Advanced. So if you're students just C1 level, that's a good one for you. If they're at B2 level, we've got a B2 level one here as well. Of course, we have a B1 and an A2 level as well. And in here, you will see the full audio. Let me just go to full screen on this. You can actually flick through and see the pages themselves and the exercises that the students can do. Up here in the top corner, you have a download button, and you or your students can download that entire PDF, and then you have a PDF from Cambridge University Press, in this case at C1 level, full of exam preparation tasks. So if you're doing exam preparations, it's a fantastic way of helping your students with this. But even if you're not doing exam preparation, but your students are at C1 level, and you want to give them something that they can do with not a huge amount of instruction, then this is an ideal option for you. So here you see examples here about completing sentences. Because it's based on a Cambridge exam, of course, it will cover all the 4 skill areas: reading, use of English, listening, and writing. And of course, the answers section is here as well. So the students could actually self-correct, having done the exercises, go back and self-correct for themselves without you having to do it. The audio that they need as well for the listening task is also available for the students there to download. So I think that's a really valuable resource for you to have and to share with your students, regardless of whether you're preparing for a Cambridge exam or not, but really particularly if you are. So let me just come back out of this and go back to my presentation. I hope I get this right, Brigida. It's going to load up here in a second. So that was I suppose we've generally seen the Supporting Every Teacher blog. I would advise you to go and have a look at it and have a look through, because there's a huge amount of articles there and a huge amount of new articles coming up every single day from very, very well respected people in the field of ELT as well. So, I mean, we've had a brief look at the exam booster where I was sharing the screen there. Pardon me. As you can see, it's something for you and your students. You could actually download it and start using straight away. Another option, grammar in use. So you'll be very familiar with English grammar in use, and this is a tip for you. I'm going to show this as an example for English grammar in use because it's a wonderful self-study course book. Grammar in use, more commonly known, of course, as Murphy. There is the red Murphy and the blue Murphy and the green Murphy, and the green Murphy is not even written by Ray Murphy. It's written by Martin Hewings, but it's known as the green Murphy, and they're the essentially the A2 level, the B1 level, and a C1 level of English grammar in use. And as an example, you could go to the Cambridge University Press website and find the English, in this case, the essential English grammar in use page. This is the version with the German translation. And as you can with a lot of our course books, you could actually request a sample unit. And you could go in here to Essential Grammar in Use, click on Free Sample. And we've always had this. It's actually not something we've specifically put up for due to the coronavirus. This is something that's always been there, but it's something that teachers have been making use of now. You could go request a free sample, and you can actually get a PDF of the first 5 units of Essential Grammar in Use German edition, which is the edition that has the explanation of the grammar activities in German. So again, that's something that you can download and you can share with your students and allow your students to work through the first 5 units of Essential Grammar in Use. And given that the instructions and the grammar explanation are in German, it's a very good remote learning tool for you to have. And as I say, that's actually always been there. It's just a tip that you could use that. So you could go onto the Cambridge site and have a look around and maybe find other resources like that. But I think that one, Essential Grammar in Use with German, is one that a lot of you, particularly in the first few classes of secondary school, will be quite interested in having your students doing. So as you can see, that is the PDF that you can actually download and share. The how-to guides. So this is something Cambridge is quite proud of. basically within about 10 days of the school closures happening across Europe and across the world, really, the editorial teams within Cambridge set out to create guides that would show teachers how you would go about teaching with our course books in a remote distance scenario. And you can find all these guides on our website. So if you are using a Cambridge book at the moment, certainly have a look and see if there's a guide there for you. There's not a guide for every single book. Of course, we have a huge back catalogue, but our biggest and best-selling books are all of how-to guides for them. So it's very likely that one of the books that you're using has a how-to guide from it. Even if you're not using a Cambridge book, you might find it interesting to see sort of hints and tips that they give for teaching with a book. So the example I'm going to show you here is Open World. So, Open World is a new exam preparation book. So I don't think a huge amount of you will be using this already, but again, there are lots and lots of other ones there, and you can see an example of that. So you can go onto our website, download this How to Teach Remotely with Open World, or with Complete, or with Empower. And in that, you will find suggestions as to how you would teach a particular unit. So what it does is it takes one particular unit and it says, okay, let's use this unit as an example. Here is a step-by-step approach for how you could go about teaching this page and then this page and this page in a remote scenario. And it even talks about the differences if you're teaching it, for example, via Zoom or Microsoft Teams, which is very popular, or if you're in a situation whereby maybe you're submitting the work to the students beforehand. So it kind of goes through that. We've also got a really nice YouTube video here where the guy who wrote this guide has actually now also produced a YouTube video that will show you how to go about teaching Open World remotely. And he, rather than just having it as a written document, he's showed us how you would actually do it in real life. So he goes through it. So here you can see, now you're not going to be able to hear the audio on this, but what you will see is him showing you exactly how you would take an exercise out of Open World, what you need to do in this case, he uses Zoom. This is what you might do in a breakout room. This is what you might do generally. So he really takes you through step by step about how you might do that. And I think this is a particularly interesting resource for teachers because even if you're not teaching with Open World, I personally found this really eye-opening to see how you could go about teaching pretty much any course book in the situation that we're in. Because of course, these course books weren't designed to be taught remotely, but it turns out now that we think about it, you can actually do an awful lot of stuff with the course books when you're not in the classroom. So again, very much recommend having a look through that video. It's 13 minutes long. He shows you how to teach remotely with a Cambridge coursebook. And as I say, even if you're not using a Cambridge coursebook, I think what you will see in there will be very, very useful for whatever coursebook it is that you're using. So that is Open World, and that is some of the ideas about how you might go about teaching remotely. I'd also like to draw your attention to a web page, the product support. And in this, you can see all the products that Cambridge have. So again, if you're using a Cambridge coursebook, please do go have a look at this. Here are all the various coursebooks we have. Secondary, adult, any of you who are using Empower or Evolve, which I know is a good seller in Germany. Any of you who are using the Cambridge exam preparation materials. For example, if you are teaching with Compact, then you can click here on remote teaching. That will bring up your guide about how to teach remotely with Compact. Now you saw the one for open world area earlier. Here's the one for Compact. Maybe you'd want to have a look at the audio. You're teaching with Empower. Well, then you just click here on audio, and then it'll bring you straight to the link on our webpage where you can get the audio for Empower. So again, a lot of good resources there for you and displayed in a very, very clear fashion. And I repeat again, all these links are in a document that you can download at the end. So I know I'm running through a lot of different websites at the moment, but you will be able to have a look at these in your own time at the end. And I'm conscious as well that I'm kind of, in a way, throwing everything at you. Some of these things will be interesting for you, some things will be less interesting for you, but hopefully at least one of the things that I show you today, at the very least, will be interesting to all of you. And I'm sure for a good number of you, very many of the things that I show you will be of interest. So that's our product support page. Presentation Plus. So Presentation Plus, if you're using a Cambridge book, we have for almost all the courses, for any course that's come out in the last 4 years at least, a tool called Presentation Plus. And the intended use of Presentation Plus was to allow you to use the projector in your classroom and to project the student's book onto a screen, maybe through a whiteboard, but also just to a regular projector, and play the audio and the video through that. That was the intended and imagined use of Presentation Plus. But of course, in the situation that we're in now, many teachers will use Presentation Plus to share their screen with the students. So they'll have their students sitting at home, teachers sitting at home, and they're on Zoom or Microsoft Teams or the equivalent, and they can share the screen. And with that, you can have all the students looking at the same part of the course book. So it's an absolutely fantastic tool for remote learning. Now, I'm not sure how well you can see what's on the screen here, but you can see a snapshot of how Presentation Plus looks for one of our courses, in this case, Open World. And I'll just briefly show you some of the features. You can play the audio. This is, the course book, and the students might have the course book themselves at home. I also know of situations where the students don't have the course book at home because the course book is still in school, or it's over at a friend or somewhere else, and they can't go over to get it. But so this is a nice way of getting around that. All the students looking at the course book together on the screen. And you can, for example, bring up an exercise here, and the students can, you can invite the students to answer this. Here you see a listening exercise. Here you see some of the tools you can use as well, which are quite nice. For example, you can blur out certain sections of the book. So if you want the students to focus in on one particular part of the book, you can also use this to sort of guess as well. So you might blur out the picture, and they might see the text around the picture, and based on what's around the text, you can ask them to speculate on what they might see in the picture. There's lots of uses on this, but I think one of the key uses in remote teaching environment will be to focus the students' attention towards very specific parts of the book, which of course is something very difficult to do in a remote teaching scenarios. This Presentation Plus tool is really useful. If you're using a Cambridge product and you think this is useful for you, please do get in touch with Brigitte Briggs in the first instance, and then ultimately it will come back to us, and we'll should be able to help you see if we can get that for you. Just so you know, it's not every single Cambridge book that has Presentation Plus, but a lot of them do have it. So worth bearing that in mind. So Cambridge Assessment, of course, our partners, Cambridge Assessment, who produce and administer the Cambridge exams worldwide. They also have significant amounts of support to help students. If you have students who need to prepare for the Cambridge exam, this next section is going to be very important to you. again, even if you don't, I think a lot of the content in here is very, very relevant because when Cambridge Assessment produce content at B1 level, you can be very, very sure that it's B1 level. If it's B2, again, very, very sure that it's B2 level. They're really excellent at doing grading their exercises very, very well. Cambridge Assessment English, but probably one of the most significant things they have done is they have made an online course, which actually they've had for quite some time, called Teaching English Online. And Teaching English Online is a 4-week course. It's 5 hours over the course of 4 weeks that explains to you exactly how you can go about teaching English online. And since the lockdown, Cambridge Assessment English have made this course available for free. So this used to be a course that you had to pay for, and now it's a course that they have just made available for free because they really want to do as much as possible to help teachers in this scenario. So I think this is a really interesting course for you to do to help you in the current situation. And I suppose what we all, I think, have in the back of our heads as well, if we're being honest, is that this might not be the last time that schools are closed and closed at short notice. I mean, we all hope it doesn't happen, but who knows if in 3 or 4 months' time the schools have opened again, and then suddenly the schools are required to be closed subsequently. We find ourselves back where we are again. So I think a lot of teachers have realised the need to learn more about the process of teaching online. So you can go to futurelearn.com online tutoring and do that course. The feedback that we've got from teachers about this course is that it's a really, really good one. And at the end of the course, you can actually even get a certificate from Cambridge Assessment to say that you have completed this course about online teaching. And that's something that you could add to your CV or resume as well, which I'm sure will be quite appealing to some of you. Write and improve. So write and improve. Again, this is another example of something which has been there for quite some time. And now that we look at it, we're imagining new uses for it. So write and improve is a tool that Cambridge Assessment have had for quite some time, in fact, for at least 2 years. And what it does is it allows students to enter writing text for particular exercises and get it automatically corrected. And even you as a teacher can see and observe the students' writing. So this is my wife is a teacher, and she actually just literally finished up doing an online class there about 15 minutes ago. And I know from her, and I know from my own time as teaching as well, the correction of writing is quite a time-consuming task. So this is a way that, and I remember from my own time of teaching, it's not just that it was time-consuming, is that I never felt I got to do enough of it with the students as well. I would have loved to give them more and more writing tasks to do, particularly those students who were heading on towards gymnasium, but I never quite was able to do it. Using something like Write and Improve that automatically grades the writing for the students is a wonderful way around that. Particularly as the students, the idea here is the students themselves can kind of take some control of the learning and see their errors. And I hope you can see this well on the screen. Basically you have a series of, in the first instance, set text that the students can, writing tasks. And these are all based on Cambridge exam tasks, by the way. But even if you're not doing Cambridge exams, these would be the type of writing tasks you would set for your students anyways, like at lower levels, writing a text, an email to your friends talking about your holidays. And by the way, Cambridge has just very recently added in some business English exercises into Write and Improve. So any of you who are teaching in the business English context, please do go have a look at Write and Improve now that it's got this new business English functionality on it. So the students can do these tasks and automatically get some feedback on their writing. And again, I'm not sure how well you can see this on your screen at the moment, but basically the student has entered some text, they've hit submit, and the system has highlighted some of the errors and has even suggested why there are errors. They'll say this is a grammar error, this is a spelling error, and so on. And then the student, of course, is invited to go back. That's part one, the right part. And then they're invited to go back and do the second part, the improved part, where they resubmit their work based on the feedback that they've got. And they can see their progress over time as well. I might just go and show you Write and Improve on my computer, because I'm not sure how well you could actually see this. So bear with me a second. Here we go. So this is Write and Improve. I think you might be able to see this a little bit better now. I'll just put this onto full screen. So here we go. This is the Write and Improve website. You do have to sign in initially. You can do that very, very easily. You can even do it with a Facebook account if you have, or with a Google account. And what's new as well is there is now something called Class View, where teachers can see. You can actually set a writing task for your students through a workbook, and see their progress and have all the students do the work together. Cambridge Assessment have just given this away for 2 months in a free trial for all teachers to try out at the moment, to see how you get on. So as I very much recommend going on yourself and having a look to see if you think this is something that will be suitable for you. I think that is more or less where I am going to stop, because I'm conscious that I've been talking for quite some time. Just to reiterate, Cambridge English as well, they have their supporting every teacher page. If you are particularly if you're looking for exam preparation resources, very much worth going on here. They've added in extra free Cambridge practice exams in there. So you could go in there and have a look, as well as having a look at their webinars, which they very frequently run. I'll just give you a quick idea of what's going on there. So for example, they have a webinar coming up, 4:30 UK time. So if you feel like having a second webinar, you can go right over to Cambridge Assessment English and read about ideas for teaching. If you're teaching C1 Advanced, preparing for that, how you might go about doing that. There's another one as well here coming up on Tuesday, repeating on Thursday, about preparing students online for speaking papers in the Cambridge English qualifications, which very, very interesting for you if you're preparing for a Cambridge exam. Again, even if you're not preparing for a Cambridge exam, but maybe your students may still have to do a speaking test in English of some description. Watching a webinar like that, I'm sure, would be very, very interesting for you, even if if you're concerned about how your students may be able to practice their speaking skills at the moment, which is probably the trickiest of the 4 skills to do right now. Then watching a webinar like that from the expert in assessments could be very, very interesting.